Hi, this is Neil Hansen, and I'm taking you through an adrenal mass protocol CT scan. So I'll tell you that the usual indication for this is to definitively characterize an adrenal mass. Adrenal nodules and masses are very commonly incidentally detected on CT scans, and without doing a biopsy, frequently we can characterize them using this. The other way you can characterize an adrenal nodule or mass is with an MRI. I'll tell you a CT with washout is a little bit more sensitive for especially lipid-poor adrenal adenomas, and so it's a little bit more sensitive test. It's also much cheaper than an MRI, although in younger people and people you want to avoid repeated radiation exposures to, an MRI certainly works very well for characterizing most adrenal masses. So there's pros and cons to each. An adrenal mass protocol CT consists of first a non-contrast series, which is here on the left hand of the screen. And then what's going to happen is the tech's going to scan the non-contrast series and call over to the reading room. They're going to say, do you want me to give contrast? So if you see an adrenal mass, you bring up the non-contrast images and you do an ROI analysis. If it averages less than 10 Hounsfield units, you can stop. There's no need to give contrast. You call it a lipid-rich adrenal adenoma. It's benign, and you just stop there. In this case, the Hounsfield units, as you can see, were 34, and so that's indeterminate. Anything above 10, tell the tech to give contrast and complete the adrenal mass washout protocol CT scan. So they'll give a contrast bolus, and then they get two more sets of images. One is a porovenous phase, so that's in the middle. You're going to measure the attenuation of the adrenal gland on that. In this case, it was about 74 Hounsfield units. And then they're going to get a 15-minute delayed image, and you're going to go in and measure the Hounsfield units on this one. And it was about 49. At this point in time, you can either manually do a calculation, or what I usually do is bring up an online calculator. So once you have your Hounsfield units measured, usually I bring up an adrenal washout calculator online. If you just Google it, there are literally dozens online. Chestxray.com has a nice one. And you insert your numbers, which you could calculate manually if you wanted to, but these calculators online do a good job. So your absolute washout factors in both the pre and post contrast imaging in the equation here, versus your relative washout only factors in the post contrast imaging. Both of them work usually pretty well and give you the same answer. So if we go from 34 Hounsfield units to 74 Hounsfield units with a 49 15-minute delay value, that gives us an absolute washout of 62.5%. Anything higher than 60% absolute washout is consistent with a benign adenoma. Our relative washout was 33.8%. That's actually indeterminate. Typically 40% for relative washout is diagnostic of a benign adenoma. So in this case, it was actually beneficial that we calculated both. In general, most of these are non-diagnostic dilemmas. If it's close or if it's equivocal, usually I will read it out as indeterminate. But if you get either of these washout calculations as being above 60 and 40 respectively, I take it to be a benign adenoma.